นั้น
ผู้บอยคุกเข่าลง
ค่อยหลับ
The film opens with the protagonist, Sewer Shrip, sharpening a knife, preparing for a life-or-death confrontation in prison. But who is he, and what led him to this place? To understand, we must first revisit his past. Puek is the only son in his family, raised by his mother, a drug dealer. His closest childhood friend is Par, a female classmate who becomes his playmate. Although Puek feels ashamed of his mother's illegal activities, he loves her deeply because of the sacrifices she makes for him. Whenever someone speaks ill of her, he reacts with anger. As he grows older, his mother is sentenced to 25 years in prison for drug trafficking. Puek continues living in a crime-infested neighborhood, where danger lurks at every corner. One day, while stopping at his usual stall to buy a drink, he is taunted by two thugs playing billiards. When they insult his mother, Puek, unable to control his rage, pulls out a knife. Par intervenes, urging him to stay calm, but as the insults escalate, Puek ultimately shoots one of the thugs, killing him. This act lands him in a juvenile detention center. The story shifts to Puek and another inmate, Fluke, being transferred to prison. Upon arrival, the prison guard assigns them to their cells, warning Fluke not to act too effeminately for his own safety. He also disciplines Puek, making it clear that his defiant attitude will only make things harder for him in prison. Inside, the prison is ruled by two rival gangs, one led by Bir and Boy, the other by Bung and Farong. Bir quickly establishes his dominance over Puek, intimidating him and demanding his belongings as a sign of control. As part of their initiation, all new inmates receive buzz cuts. Fluke, visibly upset, cries, fearing complete humiliation. Once inside their new cell, Bir, who is homosexual, orders Boy to make Puek and Fluke submit to his desires, offering them protection in return. Fluke, being physically weaker, is forced into compliance, while Puek refuses and is severely beaten by the other inmates. The next morning, still battered from the assault, Puek struggles to wake up in time for breakfast. By the time he reaches the dining hall, most of the food is gone. The cook gives him a small portion and warns him not to be too rebellious. Boy, who already harbors animosity toward Puek, kicks his plate in an attempt to provoke him. However, Puek restrains himself and simply picks up the food from the floor. Later, Bir corners Puek again, demanding that he kneel as a sign of submission. When Puek refuses, he becomes the target of a brutal beating. Even Fluke is forced to kick him, though he does so hesitantly. When Boy once again insults Puek's mother, Puek retaliates, blocking his kick and injuring him. This enrages the inmates, who gang up on him and beat him unconscious. A flashback reveals Puek's childhood, where he frequently competed in Muay Thai matches at night markets to earn money. His passive nature made him a frequent target for bullies. In one memory, he tells his mother that he refuses to use money earned from drug sales. After regaining consciousness, Puek is woken up by the head guard, who drenches him with water and orders him to line up. Fluke apologizes and offers him an orange, but Bir finds out and punishes Fluke for showing kindness. Seeing Fluke being beaten, Puek loses his temper and challenges Bir, but Bung intervenes, requesting that Puek and Fluke be transferred to his cell. A tense standoff ensues, and in the end, only Puek is allowed to move. That night, Puek worries about Fluke's safety, but Farong reassures him that Fluke is less of a threat and will likely survive, whereas Puek would have been killed. As a gesture of trust, Farong gives Puek a sharpened toothbrush for self-defense. Meanwhile, Fluke continues to endure relentless abuse from Bir and Boy. Days later, Par visits Puek, delivering heartbreaking news: his mother has died in prison. She also ends their relationship and tells him she will no longer visit. Puek, overwhelmed with grief, pleads with her, but she silently walks away in tears. Around the same time, Bung receives a visit from his father, who urges him to behave well to earn an early release. Bung, however, resents the idea of living with relatives after leaving prison. Tensions between the rival gangs escalate when Bir attacks Farong. Just as Bir is about to stab him, the prison guards intervene, ordering all inmates to lie down. Lying next to Bir, Bung finally challenges him to an all-out war. That night, Beer's gang turns on Fluke, subjecting him to horrific abuse. A flashback reveals that Fluke was wrongfully convicted. The next morning, Fluke, now mentally shattered, snatches food from Puek's tray. Puek is angered until he realizes Fluke is vomiting blood. He had consumed the poison food meant for Puek. The night before, Beer had crushed iron powder into the meal, and Fluke, having witnessed this, sacrificed himself to save Puek. Enraged, Puek tries to attack Beer but is restrained. Bung then challenges Beer to a final showdown. On the day of the fight, the inmates gather. Bung confronts Beer, but during the brawl, Beer stabs him twice. Before the fight can escalate further, the guards intervene, subduing the inmates and locking them up. That night, Bung develops a severe fever due to an untreated infection. Despite his friends' desperate attempts to help him, no guards are available. Without proper medical care, Bung dies, leaving Puek and Farang devastated. Bung's father mourns his son's fate, and even the head guard regrets his inability to prevent it. Fueled by grief and vengeance, Puek challenges Beer to a one-on-one duel to the death. Before the fight, Farang offers to take his place, but Puek refuses. The battle begins, and while Beer initially has the advantage, Puek recalls his Muay Thai training and turns the tide. A powerful kick knocks Beer down, and Puek repeatedly stabs him. Desperate, Beer reaches for Boy, but Puek chokes him into submission. At that moment, the guards arrive. The head guard, furious, orders all involved to be locked in solitary confinement. The next morning, Puek and Farang are given a special meal, a rare privilege. The head guard tells them that if they want better treatment, they should behave and work toward early release. However, due to the murder, they are transferred to high-security prisons, Puek to Capria Prison and Farang to Bangam Prison. As they part ways, they share a silent nod of farewell. Upon arriving at Capria Prison, Puek meets the warden, who immediately asserts control by pressing on his fresh wound, reminding him that he is now under his authority. The film ends with Puek walking into the new prison, his eyes still burning with defiance.